Catching up with Sarah and Ginny, fueled by laughter and insights aplenty. Curiosity, connection, and learning that sticks. Real talk, real lives with practical tips. Welcome to Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. Come on in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. And poor Rachel, she's been bombarded with Sarah and I already, because I have to tell everyone I've just got an electric desk and I'm very excited. And our desks have been going up and down. So I can only apologise, Rachel, for the furore that has already happened before we've even begun. So
I like how you got that in. Sorry, furore. Anyway, sorry, Ginny.
Furore. Furore. There's always a furore. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Rachel,
moving on.
Fabulous to have you on. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh my gosh, I always struggle when people ask me this question because I do lots of things and I never know where shall I begin. So basically, to cut a very long story short, I began my journey into my role now when I wrote a curriculum for a free school. And around the concept of creativity, a 3 to 16 school. And at that point, I was quite disaffected with the education system. But that curriculum, based on the principles of the EYFS and creativity, was approved by the DFE. And it was the most profound moment in my career because I realised that we are hungry for change in our country. And so I decided to set up my own business and take everything I'd learned into schools. And so my main sort of bread and butter and passion is curriculum and human curriculum that shapes our young people as individuals. And that has taken me into lots of wonderful places. One area, which is my deep passion and what people might know me for now, is finding my voice. So when I was working in schools, I noticed kids in corridors wherever I was, and I felt like they were always getting lots of great support, but it was either academic or it was therapeutic. There wasn't necessarily something practical they could take into the next moment of their day. And so I designed this concept of finding my voice, which is helping young people to physically and metaphorically find their voice, who they are, and how they make the world a better place. And so this concept was developed to support young people at risk of exclusion and vulnerable young people, and was incredibly successful. But every time I spoke about this at conferences, because by this point I was also a speaker, people were saying, but how do we do this whole school? So then Mary Myatt, who I also work very closely with, she approached me at a bar in London and said, right, let's make this a whole school approach, which was incredible. And so then I spent a few years developing this as a whole school approach to authentic oracy, we call it, and personal development, which starts right from culture through to classroom. And so that's a huge part of what I do as well. And then finally, I'm also, and this is why I'm sat and I've realised I've got my lanyard on, because I am actually at work at the moment in my day job, which I do 2 days a week. I'm the newly appointed director of a research school in Taunton, supporting developing an approach to CPD, which we call JPD, which is putting teachers right at the heart of education, evolution and research. So it's a teacher research centre. So that's been incredibly exciting this year, and we're working in collaboration with Camtry. So I think that's most of the bits and pieces.
I mean, wow, really? and it's actually, because I know lots about you from lots of different bits, and actually it's putting it all together. It's like, wow, that's quite a journey and quite an incredible role that you have now. The next question, you've kind of answered it in some ways in terms of a wow moment, but if you were to pull something from that or something different for, what would be a wow moment for you that you'd like to share?
I think like you say, I've probably had lots of wow moments, but the most profound moment for me was working with young people in finding my voice. And although I'd been a teacher and a leader before that, I don't think I'd ever been afforded the time to truly listen to young people and their experience of the world. and learning from them what they need education to be and how they experience it currently has been both beautiful but also really sobering. And so it's definitely been my sort of wow defining moment that I continue to take into my career. I constantly, always, wherever I go, whatever work I'm doing, I always center it around listening. And so, yeah, I think that's probably been the biggest thing I've learned is the wow of listening.
Yeah, I think that's something I've learned a lot from you, Ginny, as well. The wow of listening. That's amazing. Thank you, Rachel, for that.
This idea of listening, it's that idea of listening to understand, isn't it? It's that idea of waiting. Because I think in education, we know everyone is so busy, but often we can be in a meeting or talking to someone and we are ready to say our next bit before the person has said their bit. So we're always ahead and not actively listening. So I just think this is absolutely fascinating. And this idea of learning from them is just... You know, it's all there, isn't it? Because I'm trained to be a life coach as well, and so I find everything is within the individual, isn't it? It's just allowing people to have that voice and listen to them. That is just that's what it should be about, isn't it? And it can't be lost.
I think, I guess the older you get, the more cynical you get, but also alongside that you become a bit more wise in a positive way, I hope. And I've learned to slow things down, to listen, to understand, like you say, Ginny. But also during that time, I've had to shed a lot of assumptions and biases that I carry. And there is a lot of very good work that goes on in education, but there's a lot of good work driven by assumption, not experience. And when we listen to our young people, we sit in a place of truth. And it always changes everything. Difficult strategic work. If you're sharing what the young people have said, no one could dispute that this needs to happen here, you know? So I think it just carries such a power and a beauty. And sometimes we're too busy to slow down to speed up, if that makes sense.
It's this treadmill. It was Ken Robinson, wasn't it, who said about the treadmill of education. And I think we can be on the treadmill to the detriment of curiosity, because actually so much of it comes back to being curious about what a child has said or how they've acted, and I love what you said about slowing down, because when we slow down, that's when things fall into place and when we understand things more. But we are often on such a treadmill. So it resonates so much with me. So Rachel, if Send were a song, what would it be and why? What gem have you got for us?
So I think I bet someone's had this one, but I think Chesney Hawkes, I Am the One and Only.
I don't think we've had that one.
Have you not?
No, we haven't.
So this is twofold. One, it's homage to my best friend, because it's her favourite song and she's obsessed with Chesney Hawkes. So she will love me for saying this. But two, Karen Bathe, that's for you. Two, the biggest challenge for me with Send is that it's a deficit model of the things that our young people can't do, based on a normative system, which is broken, frankly. And I think working towards a strengths-based approach. With Finding My Voice, we talk about the power of the self-determination theory, knowing and understanding the value I bring to a room. And we all have it, and it's idiosyncratic and beautiful. But our system, unfortunately, doesn't have a codified way of capturing the individual beauty of our young people. And so we really miss a trick on that. So part of Finding My Voice, working with the young people, was just capturing, do you know what? you just have this exquisite way of articulating things. It's like you talk in poems. And, when you've reflected that back at someone, suddenly they become deeply self-aware of this skill they didn't know they had, because it doesn't flow through any school system, and therefore then they're able to deepen it. It's the same with compassion or humor, or, there's all these different things that you can pick out. And it's the same with our staff teams, of course. It's just, it's shaping humans rather than placing on top a deficit model of, I'm a send mum, ex-Senko as well. And, I was a crap Senko, because I was a Senko before I was a Sen mum. And, I did my best and I cared deeply. But if I could go back and do the job now I would be focusing much more on shaping strengths, than, constantly trying to intervene around the things that you can't do the same as your peers, which is just such a broken way at looking at the beautiful difference in humans.
Yeah.
I
think that's really key as well, just thinking around, because we talk a lot as well, is around that whole thing of how we look at things, that lens you're looking at something through, and actually how that shifts and changes. And I think since I've become a parent, I look back at some of my earlier career and think, when I was first a head teacher, even thinking about that, and actually now, that importance of listening, the importance of making opportunities to connect and hear everything around something. The system currently, and that's one of the issues, isn't it, around the time. There isn't the time to really listen to and to find out the strengths and to hear all of the things that are going well, because you've got a short amount of time, you just go for the negatives. Because and everyone does, we all do.
Yeah.
And you think around how could that change? How could that be different? I love that. I love that. Chesley Halls as well for our Spotify playlist. Love it.
Yeah. Bit of Ches's. And I think this idea of parents finding their voice. I always say the parent is the expert about their child. And it really resonated with me about, I firmly believe every meeting with a parent should begin with the positives. Right, everyone tell me something positive about this individual. And they can become quite robotic and quite it goes back to listening, doesn't it? I do a lot of work about making the before, the during and after a meeting with carers, making it as that everyone feels so valued, and that we flatten the hierarchy. So it resonates, doesn't it, Sarah, so much with us, everything that you're saying, Rachel.
I
think it's also, I am the one and only. There's nobody I'd rather be.
Yeah.
Is we just love to categorize people, and the damage that putting people in a box and then a box within a box, and how that starts to build their story. And, it especially with social media, the way that's distorting those stories currently and even as I call myself a Sen mum, that gives me a bit of an ick. I'm a mum. I'm a mum of individuals, beautiful, but I'm trying, we do it to make sense of the world, but we do it to the detriment of our young people and their experience and their families' experience. I just think we just need to be thinking of how we're growing beautiful individuals.
Oh, I love it.
Then all connecting together to get the best outcomes for all of the beautiful individuals. And how can we all do that collectively as opposed to against each other?
Yeah.
Which I think, unfortunately, is the position that we find ourselves in, isn't it? It's just really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I love that as well, Rachel. I'm going to have to find out more after this as well about your the research and the professional development stuff that you're doing, because there's that's a huge area for everyone. There's so many assumptions that are made around the information that people have. So therefore the decisions that they're making based on that knowledge of actually, they don't necessarily all have that knowledge.
So exactly. And if I could just give you a little overview, because I think you'll love this, is
Go on.
that our CPD models are based largely around sort of macro picture of where our schools are at. And every cohort's different, every subject's different, every class is different. And so it doesn't really allow that depth of flex. But we also know practitioners are different, and the way in which they interact,
their experience,
and
their background.
And also we are in a phase in education where we've codified pedagogy to the point that it's feeling quite reductive. For our learners, but also for, if you talk to a lot of teachers, you know, although there's sense in routines and rituals, it can tip into something that becomes so tight that I can't indulge in the art and craft of teaching. So joint professional development was developed by Michael Fielding, Professor Michael Fielding, who came up with this concept of being evidence informed. So I look at the challenges within my class and think, oh, these are the things that I want to evolve. And then I look out to the evidence. So I'm connecting with the academic field in relevance to that. And then then from that, I build my own action research. So I'm innovating that evidence. And then at the end, I can feed that back in the loop. So what we're actually doing with Camtree is we're supporting our practitioners to write this up and feed this back into the loop. So really putting our teachers at the heart. And part of this, interestingly, is one, starting with the learners in a place of truth. So, you know, really focusing on that. And two, building through collaboration and dialogue. So working with other teachers, talking about common challenges. And this year we're focusing on belonging and inclusion, actually, as a theme area. So, yeah, if anyone wants to get involved, the Hewish Centre. And that's us.
I love that. And and all of that is that whole thing around the action research as well. And about actually, you know, you learn best from doing and it being meaningful to you and being active. And then also that whole peer-to-peer support, because then you're kind of feeding that back in.
Exactly.
You know, one of my big things that I always think about is my journey of being of actually being supported to teach reading. And I think I did a PGCE. You know, so I probably had a half day on the teaching of reading and what you do, you know, how you do it. And then actually for learners that struggle, you might have had 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And that would never have focused on anyone in terms of, I then worked in special schools, you know, of anyone with anything that falls out of that slight norm of maybe dyslexia, maybe. And it's that. And it's like, actually, what problem do you face? I love that. I want to come and do it.
You're very welcome.
I want to do some action research, please, Rachel. I love it.
It makes, as you're saying, it's like, it's kind of like, yes, of course. You know, yes,
Why wouldn't you do it like that?
You know, and it's you know, we have a certain cohort, a certain dynamic of one class. And exactly like you're saying, the next year we have different children, different dynamics, and what they need to help them thrive is going to be different. And that's it. There's a lovely book. I'm looking behind me in my book.
Oh God, don't let me start looking behind me.
And it's the lovely introduction is about children being akin to flowers. We have some daffodils, we have some tulips. And I just love this idea of, yes, and, and they become a bouquet. That isn't in the book, but, you know, and we you know, we are all different, children are all different. If we just take it back to us as individuals, we're all different. If we were put in a room together, goodness knows what would happen. But if we were put in a room together,
God help us.
We would flourish. Oh, I'm getting into a flower thing, but we would flourish and bloom in different ways. But ask us when we had COVID back then, children had their own desk. And I think at one point we had 15 children, didn't we? And that was all we were allowed. And one of my children afterwards said, please, can I have a desk to myself? I really don't like being squashed. And I was like, yes, of course. Yes, of course. And would I like that? No. You know, it's just refreshing, Rachel.
But on that, of course, because my thing is always, we're all very different, but there's those common themes. So actually, when you
Yes.
start involving everyone in discussions, they're going to talk about their
Exactly.
class and they think their class is so unique. And then actually all of those are flowers. What do all the flowers need to grow? And what are all the roots? And they're all the, and it's that kind of, because sometimes, and I'm thinking really from special education in particular, it's like, we need this, we need that, we need that. Okay, but they're all children. It's learning. So what do we all need? And what are the main ingredients that we can use? And actually for practitioners seeing that themselves. Oh,
Completely.
actually,
Yeah.
that's something that will run across everyone.
So we do that with Finding My Voice, actually, where we talk about everyone's needs. And then we build social norms around them. So rather than rules, we have norms. But because the needs have been expressed by the young people and then the norms have been negotiated and curated by them, you've then got an incredibly robust behavior system where everyone is accountable because they designed it themselves. And so, I found it, so I work a lot with Finding My Voice in AP as well. And I think we can use that to our favor to really disrupt this. The system is about control currently. And what we need to be doing is modeling democracy because in fact, in the future world, our democracy is at risk, but also because that is how we shape humans in their richest way. So I totally agree.
I love it. I love it, Rachel. Okay. So final question. It's thinking around a book, and it can be any book that you just want to share. It childhood, current book, something you've read, anything, something you use in work, whatever springs to mind.
My most profound read, there's been loads, and I find this sort of question really impossible. But from an education perspective that's really shaped my understanding of humans, it's The Extended Mind by Annie Murphy-Poole. So Annie Murphy-Poole took the concept of a statement from oh my gosh, this is the menopause, ladies. So this is
you don't have to tell me, Rachel.
Has
I'm
disappeared.
in it, sorted. Yeah. Word
so
finding.
Anyway, Andy, someone from the University of Birmingham, it will come to me probably after this call, came up with the concept that education had become brain bound, that we made the wrong assumption that all of our learning happens inside our grey matter. And all we have to do is input and get the correct output. So she, a cognitive scientist herself, felt like there was only one element of cognitive science related to memory that had manifested into education. And actually, there was a vast body of understanding about how we learned that was far richer than that. And so she did a huge literature review of everything that was out there, then endeavoured to fill the gaps herself, sort of research in education or not just in education, actually. She went into medical fields and all sorts, but those elements that needed to be deeper. And it is the most powerful read. So she discovered, just to give an overview, that we learn in our bodies. Look at me gesturing all over the place, moving around.
Don't stand near me.
Yeah, exactly. But, think about touch, sound, taste, it's all there. But we also learn in our surroundings. The research around the fact that we can think more deeply and concentrate for longer when we're outside versus being in four walls, profound. Bit concerning when we think about how we do education. But then also finally that we learn with each other. Like, as I talk to you now, I am bringing my thinking on. And so that's why, I'm so passionate about pedagogy and dialogue, because there is so much cognitive science research in terms of the new phrase that seems to be emerging is embodied learning, that we acknowledge the fact that there is more than just remembering. And actually how we remember is a much richer, bigger process. But also learning isn't about just remembering, it's about making meaning and thinking deeply, thinking critically. And I could literally spend 3 hours telling you just talking at you about the contents of this book. So I'm going to stop.
And I love it. And I love it. And I'm gonna get, that's gonna be another one. Ginny and I could end up with a very large collection of books after these episodes.
We end up with these books, and I've actually just Googled it. And what I love is it says explores how we can enhance thinking by using resources beyond our brain, including our bodies, physical spaces, and relationships with others.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we've been talking about. But another book for me to buy. I love this because we just find out about all these gems, don't we, Sarah?
I know. And it's really interesting because while you were talking then, I was thinking about my own learning. And it's really interesting as you get older and within the field that we're working in now. And it's that continual reflection of how did I actually learn that? What's the best way that I've learned something within my career, when I was a student? One of the things I did for my A-levels was I recorded my voice onto a tape and played it in the car on my way to college. And it was economics A-level. I passed economics A-level, but I can not tell you anything about it. I got a B at A-level in economics. I have no concept about inflation. I know nothing. And I think that's exactly it. I got all of the things to remember the information in the most effective way I could. It was my own voice. It was going in, meant nothing to me.
Well, for my A-levels, I got a lovely big pad of A3 paper, beautiful felt tip pens, wrote everything down in different colours. Did me no good whatsoever, Sarah. Failed on my A-levels, but had a lovely time. But didn't realise.
It looked good.
It looked good. It was beautiful. But I think that's interesting as well. It looked beautiful. And I thought, oh, I'm learning.
Yes.
Now, if I had to do an A-level on lyrics from 80s pop songs, I'd ace it. But it's just fascinating, Rachel, and it's so refreshing, this whole concept, because we go back to, is it about being brave, Rachel?
So I think it's about thinking more deeply conceptually about things. I think we always want the fastest route, and we're time poor. And so therefore we, naturally take the routes that feel smooth. And in terms of sort of that dialogue element, the oracy piece, having a lot of meetings with colleagues at the moment about concern about how oracy can also mutate in this way, and that actually we need to really connect with the power of oracy relationships to, one, deeply listen to others and understand each other more deeply, but two, understanding the concept that we are thinking out loud, and we are what Neil Mercer calls interthinking. Like we've been thinking together, but people just think of oracy and think of that physical voice and the performative side of things. And there's an element of that that's really important for self-advocacy and to be able to express myself in the right way at the right time. But there's a much deeper need in our society right now for that real authentic, deep oracy work to be going on, for our young people to have that tonic they need to where our world is at the moment, which I think is absolutely key.
I love it. I mean, it's just the power of all of it. And again, we could carry on talking, couldn't we, Ginny, really? I mean,
so many takeaways for me to consider. And I have to say, Rachel, I love your tone. It's isn't it, Sarah? It's very, very calming.
Listen all day, Rachel.
Yeah, honestly, it's been a joy. Thank you so much. And as I say, lots to consider and think about. So thank you so much, Rachel. And as we always say, Sarah, it's always a pleasure.
Never a chore. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you,
Thank
Rachel.
you, ladies.
Bye. Thanks for joining us this time on Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny.
Always a pleasure and never a chore.